So I have three sisters and one younger brother. So my sisters, they are my mentor all the time because they are older than me. And I would say the one who really loves miniature is my second sister. She used to collect miniature art, but by that time I was still young, so I couldn't afford it. So instead of buying like her, I just started to make it myself.
You mentioned that your sister collected all this miniature art, but you weren't actually interested in it, right? You didn't really look at it. But I think you were already interested in art at the time. You were watching Art Attack on Disney and you loved it.
Yeah, I definitely love it. I really love to make craft. I mean, instead of drawing, I think I prefer craft. I mean, doing something out of nothing, out of paper, out of anything else. So it, in a way, also affect me that I can go into this journey because I love to do something with my own hand. And yeah, like you said, at first I'm not really into it. But after I read a book, so that book is talking about how to make miniature from daily life object. For example, something really impressed me is, the medicine capsule. So that tutorial book also teach me on how to use this capsule. So you just pull out one side and you can make it as a glass bottle. So attached with transparent earring stud and also this capsule to make it as a glass bottle. So which is impressed me very much. And I couldn't imagine that, we can make something so tiny out of our daily life objects. So this was I would say, the boom to me. Really go into miniature art.
And this happened when you were 14, right? So you fell in love instantly.
Yeah, I do.
So you read the book and were you like going online to forums, trying to find other people who loved it? What were you doing?
Yeah, because by that time, our house, we only have one computer. We didn't really like very accessible like nowadays. But I was really into it. So I truly go to cyber cafe and I try to search it from the forum and also some Japanese artist blog. So just try to figure out how I can learn more about miniature art. So we doesn't have YouTube tutorials by that time. So I just can try to read what the artist is trying to say in their Japanese blog. Of course, I use Google Translate, but then I really learned Japanese myself and tried to understand what they're saying and what is the material they are using. But then there's a problem is I couldn't find the materials in Malaysia. That's another thing is not only found some Japanese artist blog, but I also found some Malaysian artist blog. So there's a small group of people, they also doing this in Malaysia. So I have a chance to visit their exhibition because they just had a really small exhibition in Central Market. I'm not sure if you know this, but after a few years, they really work out on the art market and exhibition in Central Market like every year. So when I was browsing through all these websites, I was so thrilled that, wow, there's a group of people really doing this in Malaysia. And then I visited their exhibition and I was so in love with it. And I also talked to them talking about how they do this because I was no idea on how to make at all. And this is how I first started. Like I said, I couldn't find what's the material and I couldn't find it in Malaysia. Then I just tried to use some cardboard, tries to use some scrap woods that my cousins gave it to me. But the time when I really have a chance to make it myself was about Form 4, Form 5, which is 16, 17. Yeah, so it takes about 2 years for me to actually discover where I can get the materials right.
What kind of materials were you looking for? Because as I understand, you even had to work part-time just to afford these materials, right?
Yeah, and I don't really work part-time to get the material, but I just wanted to save some money in order to buy something I love. But then I never imagined that it takes lots of money. So eventually I really put all of my part-time salary into the material. So the material wise, at first I was looking at balsa wood and some tools like tweezer, like the brushes. I mean, because I'm not really into art, I mean, I was studying in science class in secondary school. So I don't really know about art that time. So everything I have to figure out myself from zero. So in terms of buying the paintbrush, I have to figure out which sizes and which fur is better to use as well. So I really have to learn it all the way from zero. So talking about a toothbrush, I really use it because when we are dealing with clay to make miniature food, so we actually need to use toothbrush to get the texture.
And I believe the wood that you just mentioned is more quality wood that's easier for you to carve, right?
Well, balsa wood is a very soft wood. So that was the one who I learned it from the book. But then after some trials and errors, I actually found another type of wood is even better. So it takes lots of experiment, it takes a lot of time and effort to do the experiment, trials and errors, stuff like that. Yeah.
So your very first project was a single lollipop. How did that go about?
Because I managed to buy a stock of clay. So this clay comes with instruction paper on how to make lollipops. So that is how I first started doing this lollipop. Yeah. I just follow the instruction and try to make it myself.
And how were you giving yourself these projects? Because now you do mega recreations of like the insides of barber shops and restaurants, and you started from a lollipop. So how did you slowly scale up?
Well, I would say I really appreciate because I have the chance to join the competition. Because you have the competition, so you really push yourself to learn even more than you expected. Because when you set up a team, what you really want to make, so you will face some problem because there's a lot of things that you never make before. So you have to really try it out. I mean, practically. If you just think about it, how to make it doesn't make sense. I mean, you can't learn anything. So you really have to do it practically to learn it yourself.
Talking about joining your first competition, I think there was a dollhouse competition when you were still in high school. How did that go? I mean, that's quite an ambitious project, if you will.
Yeah, it is. But I just wanted to give myself a chance to go further because, as I said, I started with the lollipop. So eventually, when you do lots of small items, you really want to gather up everything to make it as a dollhouse, to make it as a shop or something else. So that competition also drives me to actually work out something complete. So that time, the theme of the competition is doing fairy tale. So what I chose is a bakery shop from Studio Ghibli anime, which is the Kiki's Delivery. So I really love this movie. So I chose this theme and make the bakery shop. So to make up a bakery shop, you have to make the basic structure of this dollhouse. You have to make the wood furniture inside, the display rack, the display cabinet, something like that. And most importantly, of course, the bread and some decoration, flowers, the pots, things like that. So you really have the chance to explore something new because I really love shopping. But what I shop is craft store or bookstore. I really love to explore as many as I can, the materials and the tools, so I can make something out of them.
Would you say this is the point where your hobby turned into something of an obsession and you started to dream of wanting to be a miniature artist?
Yeah, it is. I still remember I was thinking on how can I become a miniature artist as a full-time job, like all day long, every night. You have a dream to, you really want it. And when you look at the Japanese artists, they really do this as a living. So I was thinking, why can't I do this in Malaysia? Because Japanese can do this, so why not Malaysia?
I mean, one of the most famous ones is Tomoko Tanaka, right? He does amazing art.
Really amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
He's my favorite. I mean, he's the best artist I love the most.
It's incredible. So take us into your world a little bit. I mean, when you do a shop, for instance, as you said, you clearly have to plan so much in detail before you even start buying the materials, the equipment, and then putting it all together. Like, what kind of things do you need? Do you plot it out with a computer, making sure all the dimensions are right? How does it work?
Definitely, we need the plan first because in miniature art, the most important thing is the ratio. So because you can't make it, the table is big and the chair is small, so it doesn't make sense, right? So definitely we need to make sure everything is perfect in the ratio. So I will need to plan in advance from the drawing. So basically I use computer software to draw it out first because it can easily squeeze down in any scale you want. So it's also easier for you to make changes instead of drawing it in a paper. Of course, sometimes I do for small things, but doing a dollhouse like a shop, like I said, so we definitely need to draw it in the computer and also do some research. For example, what do you want to make? What do you want to include in this scenario? So what details you wanted to enhance in this whole scenario? So sometimes I will imagine myself if I am the shop owner. So what would I do? For example, I am in the barber shop. I own a barber shop. So a barber shop, you need the scissors, of course, you need a hair dryer. So what would a barber do in their daily life? So you can imagine all this thing and just be yourself. Just imagine yourself in that shop. So you can figure out as many details as you want. And also combined with the research you do from the internet, you can actually figure out the whole image of this diorama. So this is the initial stage, planning, then drawing, sketching. And then when we first started doing this miniature, we have to make the basic structure first if we are doing a shop. So definitely you need a ground, you need the wall, you need a roof, for example. So after this, we will go further into some big items like furniture, like a hairdryer, as I said, scissors, things like that. I mean, from big furniture to small items. So everything has to include in the scenario. And then the last stage, it would be the most important part, which is weathering, because weathering, it gives life to this whole scenario. You have to include some wear and tears, some stains or dirt on the floor, on the wall, etc. So this thing, it can enhance the whole miniature artwork because it makes you feel like people are really in there doing stuff. So you can feel like there's somebody experiencing something in there, which is really amazing.
I mean, the dirt, the stain, that's clearly such a huge feature of what you do. You know, you really try and recreate that scene. And I imagine you go beyond just imagining what it's like being a barber, but you actually go and visit the place and you take photos of the stains as well, right? So you really
Yes, correct.
observe the surrounding. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, sometimes it's really interesting because, I mean, sometimes, for example, I think I discovered that, oh, there's a plastic bag hanging in there. So you will think about why is it there and what the barber would do and why is this appear in this place. And then you will figure out something interesting if you observe more. I would say this is a bit creepy because, you try to observe something that people don't usually did. And so I really love this part very much. I love to capture the dirt at the corner and I like to catch up what they do, like when nobody's in there. Very interesting.
What has been the most surprising or favorite thing that you've captured so far?
Well, I think it's the moment of the people doing their stuff. I mean, they're doing their own job. So you can, because normally when I take the photographs over there, I will get their permission first, of course. And sometimes they have their own customers. So they just ignore me, just let me take photos, whatever, and then chit chat together with me, I mean, with the customer as well. So we will share our life. I mean, sometimes they just share their daily life with me and say, so what they do and how's the business going? I would just ask, just like normal chit-chatting with your uncle. And then you find that they are mostly friendly. As long as you are friendly to them, they will be fine. They also share lots of their story with you. Because there's once I just sit down in a kopitiam and then I was just taking some photos. And then the uncle sit beside me, just asked me, what are you doing? And then eventually when we talk, he said, hey, I think I remember I saw your article in the newspaper. I was so shocked and then, oh wow, really? And then we started a conversation again, which is so funny, and we share with each other what we do for living. So he told me that he's an engineer, so doing the construction nearby. So I am literally doing tiny engineering, I mean civil engineering, because I build houses, right? So it's so fun to share that experience with people like this. Yeah.
One of the places you love going is Lorong Panggung near Chinatown.
Yeah.
What was it about that place? Because you have created so many, scenes from that place before they were refurbished.
Yeah, it was quite faithful because my elder sister, her wedding photo was taken over there in that shop, in that alley. So that was very long time ago. And then when I saw this photo, I was so surprised because I remember that I read it from a book. So that book is talking about KL history. So I remember this place because from the book, and at the same time, I saw this place so beautiful. And then by that time, I was still studying in the university. So I had a chance to, sometimes when we finish the class at 12 or 1, so I have lots of free time. So I would just drop by KL to have a walk, because I wanted to really see what is going on in KL and compare with what I have read from the book. I just wanted to discover the history, which is so interesting. And then I just dropped by the Kopitiam and also this Lorong Panggung. So the most famous thing is one street light pole at the back of the Kopitiam. It stays there for 100 years. So I just wanted to have a look myself, and I was, wow, this is 100 years old, like pole. It's just doing it out of curious. And then I really love this place because their food is nice, obviously, and the uncle and auntie there I just randomly talked to them and asking them, oh, how long is this place been here? So they told me it's about 60 years and was inherited from his father. And that was also the first time I actually discovered that the building nearby in this Lorong Panggung was so old. It was built, in the early 20th century, which is so precious. So I really wanted to preserve all these things, all this history, and also the building structure into my miniature art. So that is why I started this project. So by that time, I was started in about early 2017. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. But then they announced that they're going to refurbish by May of 2018. So there's about a year for me because I was just doing it for my own. So it's not a job. So I'm doing it slowly. But when I went back again to this kopitiam, so the uncle told me that they are going to reconstruct this place. Not only the kopitiam, but also the whole Lorong Panggung. So I feel really sad because I really love this place as original as it is. Because as I said, I love the building structure. I love the doors. The doors is so beautiful. They are in blue. I love the colors, almost everything. So yeah, this is why I really wanted to make something I love into my miniature art. Yeah.
I think you made it for like the Hokao Kopitiam and also for Mr. Boon, the master of the scissors sharpener.
Yes, correct.
It must have been really special for you to chart his story because you didn't just make it, you also did an entire video that featured an interview with him as well.
Mr. Woon. Yes. Yeah, that was an accident actually because I didn't know that Mr. Woon shop at first. But there's once my friend actually brought me to his shop because it's really inside the Lorong Panggung. You couldn't find it if there's no one bring it there. So I had this chance to go to this place with my friend and just chat with him. So I took some pictures. Just a few, not much, not as detailed as I took the Hokao Kopitiam. But then before Hokao Kopitiam was refurbished, this shop, this scissors sharpener shop, the uncle has already moved back to his house. So he's going to retire as well. And then once I was thinking back, this uncle, his craftsmanship is really precious to me because, there's not much people are really doing this kind of craftsmanship anymore. And then I figured out all the ways, try to dig out his phone number, his contact number. I am asking the uncle from Hokao Kopitiam as well, and also asking his grandson. And also asking some of my media's friends. No one has his contact. And then at the end, I found it from a YouTube channel. Took a short video about this shop. And then there's one contact number in the description. I was so happy. And then I tried to call. I'm not sure if this is correct, but I tried to call. And then, yes, it is. And so I successfully contacted this Mr. Woon. And I just went to his house and do a short documentary about his story.
Was Mr. Woon very surprised that this young person really wants to do his story?
Yes, it is. Because I remember when I was visiting him, we actually talk about his famous stuff because he was interviewed by lots of people as well. I mean, by the students nearby and by the media, because, like I said, the craftsmanship is very precious. So some media actually interviewed him before. So I actually took the photos of what he was interviewed from the wall because he stick the newspaper on his wall. And then I was so happy because I would say this is fate because I am able to find his contact and he allowed me to do the documentary, and I was so blessed and so appreciate.
So it's clear, as you're talking about your stories, you're hunting down these people who mean so much to you, that you love this work so much. So why do you end up doing mechanical engineering at Tunku Abdul Rahman University College? That is totally different.
Well, because as I said, I was from science class in a secondary school. I just doesn't want to study about accounting, numbers is just a nightmare to me. But then I love science. I love physics the most. So I just decided to go for this course. I'm not really into this course when I first started this in a university, but then eventually I think I love it. I can learn a lot about what is going on in life because engineering it basically happening in our life. I mean, lots of appliances, lots of applications actually is doing it with engineering. So I'm still loving it, but then I know clearly myself that my passion is doing miniature art because obviously every day when I was finished the school, when I go back to home, I just learn how to make miniature art. I practice a lot, like almost every day. So I know myself, I know my main passion is doing miniature art, but I just wanted to, seek for a second chance if doing miniature art can't pay my own bill. So I would just go for engineering. Yeah.
I mean, you were there on a full scholarship. So were you ever tempted at any point to drop out early and pursue miniature art?
Yes, I do. But wow, I was true that you found out that I have a full scholarship over there. I do because I was studying diploma at first and then going into degree. During the stage of moving from diploma to degree, I actually tell my parents that I wanted to drop out from the school. I just wanted to do this full time at that moment. I was dreaming it all the time. I just wanted to do it full time and make this for a living from miniature art. But then, of course, my parents urged me to continue because they say it's so sayang if you drop out because you have the full scholarship. So why not you just continue and do this as part-time? So of course, I think this is their delayed plan. They wanted me to be an engineer, I guess. Because I think they wanted me to be an engineer, but they just urged me, you can do this part-time, so just continue to study. And then I listened at the end, of course. So I just decided, all right, I will just go on. But, I never regret about this because I think studying in degree actually gave myself lots of time to really practice and also learn on how to do your own business. Because as an artist, I think you can't be just make art. You have to learn a lot more than that. You have to know about management in terms of financial, in terms of time, in terms of business. You have to manage everything. I mean, because you wanted to be self-employed. So you can't just make art. So during my study in the degree, I actually read a lot of books about business. I just bought books from the bookstore and read a lot and also plan in advance on what I'm going to do after my graduation. Because I have decided I wanted to do this after the graduation and no one can stop me, even my parents. So, I planned a lot. So I just wanted to be myself ready to get this thing done. I wanted to be full-time. So I have to actually do something to persuade my parents because they doesn't know what you can do as an artist. I mean, they can't understand. So I just wanted to prove to them because I'm not just saying it, but I am doing it myself. So eventually they just let me go. They know nobody can stop me. They know I am stubborn. So they also know I am good in planning and execution. They know, my parents know me the best. So they know my characteristic that I can do that. Of course, they have a lot of worries. I mean, when I first started in full time, they worry a lot. They also urge me that, do you want to find a full-time job first and do this part-time again? So they come back again. But then I was so lucky because I still managed to get orders and also can feed myself. I can pay bills. So after a few months, they just stopped their urge.